Good morning, Knicks Nation. Happy Friday to all of you. I hope you're all safe and sound. Um, where do I start? Today I want to discuss Tyrell Terry. Tyrell Terry is the subject today. Um, Before I do that, though, I want to address something that happened yesterday. Look, please don't base your opinion of a player on a 10-second video. Yesterday, I saw on the Bleacher Report a tweet of a 10-second video of Devin Vassell shooting, right? And Kevin O'Connor, who's supposed to be some sort of expert, this is what I mean. Be careful of these guys that are claiming to be basketball experts. But anyway, it looks like his shot has changed. That's what they said. And then it went through all of basketball world. Devin Vassell's shot is broken, and oh God, he's not as good as we thought he was. Oh man, I'm not as high on him anymore. Listen, first of all, let's take a deep breath and calm down a minute. Number one, that's the way he shoots deep threes. If you look at his Florida State video, look at highlights from him at Florida State, when he takes a deep three, and that's what he was practicing in the video, deep threes. So when he takes a deep three, cranks it back like that. That's exactly how he always shoots the ball. If he takes shots that are closer to the line or in the mid-range, he doesn't crank it as much. He uses his height more and his elevation more on the shot. But when he's taking a deep three, that's exactly how he shoots it. And as we know, he shot almost 42% from three last year. His shot is not broken, okay? And it's amazing how, people that contact, what do you think about his shot? Oh my God, this is wrong. He's changing his shot. And the guy in the video, Kevin O'Connor, looks like he changed his shot. I don't know what these guys are looking at. I actually looked at a lot of video of this kid. And I'm sure a lot of people did. If you just notice, especially when he's shooting it extended from the top of the key toward the middle of the court and right after the half court, he cranks the ball back like that, like a slingshot, and shoots it. That's how he shoots his deep threes. And he does a very good job at hitting them. Come on, y'all. Don't do that, man. Don't let a 10-second video all of a sudden go from, oh, the guy's got to be our pick at 8. Oh my God, we cannot pick him. You guys, come on. You guys, I know you're better than that, Knicks Nation. Come on now. All right. So let's talk about young Mr. Tyrell Terry. Now, I'm going to talk about Tyrell. First, before we start with Tyrell again, let me just say, my top prospects at 8 is still Devin Vassell. I still think he's the best NBA ready player in this draft. So Devin Vassell is my pick at 8. The 10-second video did nothing, but reinforced what I already know about the kid. All right. So, he's my top pick. I do like Maxey also. I'm going to have to move Maxey up into, higher. I don't know if I would pick him 8, but definitely higher in the draft, than what they have in slotted at. But now, so I'm going to assume, let's take that off the table and let's assume those are not my top picks. I'm looking at Tyrell Terry. And so let me start with the positives of Mr. Terry. Mr. Terry is an NBA ready shooter. Lethal NBA ready shooter. Okay. He is elite as far as, shooting the basketball. And, that will translate for him because when I watch his shot, there's no hitch. There's no, like if you watch, Tyler Bay shoot, he has to kind of crank up a little bit, even if he's shooting mid range. This kid, flick of the wrist and that ball's gone. And he's going to do that in the league. And he can shoot it deep from 30, no problem. Tyrell Terry is a tremendous shooter. And he's going to bring that to the NBA. He is also a very high IQ player. Smart player. His reads are excellent. Okay. Extremely well. He reads, offensively extremely well. Tremendous shooter, offensive player. He's got that assassin in him. Like, you can see it on his face. He got, like, is this cat like Trae Young, come with that baby face? But they will break your heart if they got the ball in their hands and it's the last possession of a game and the game is, one possession. You want to get the ball out of his hands because he will hurt you. He's going, this kid is the same way. Baby face looking kid, like a choir boy, but he will kill you. He's an assassin. Okay. Those are the positive things, of Terry. Also, when he's engaged, he's not a great defender. No. But he's definitely a willing defender when he's engaged, which brings me to the negatives. He's not a bad ball handler. He's a good ball handler, actually, but he's not. I'm comparing him to Trae Young because it's three players he reminds me of. He has a little bit of Trae Young, a lot of Trae Young, actually. A lot of JJ Redick I see in him also. And that's another thing. The boy moves very well without the ball. Very well without the ball. So not only is he a high level shooter, he's good on the catch and shoot. He's good on the pull up. Very, very good without the ball. So it reminds me of JJ Redick. And then of course there's Stephen Curry. Now, the difference between Stephen Curry and Trae Young and him, he does not handle the ball quite on their level. Those guys are elite ball handlers. Like, Stephen Curry's a master ball handler. And so is Trae Young. This kid's not a master ball handler, but he's not a disaster with the ball either, but he's just not on their level as far as ball handling is concerned. And Trae Young's court vision, it's top of the line elite, Trae Young, court vision. Terry's not bad. He sees the court also. He's just not on that level. But he is on, I'm going to say he's on both their level in terms of shooting the basketball. There's no question. This kid can shoot the ball. Okay. So if you have this kid on your team, there's a couple of ways you would utilize him. To me, if you're going to maximize Tyrell Terry, you're going to have to make the offense run through him. You're really going to have to make the offense run through him because, and I call it, I have a term for it. I call it the Allen Iverson formula with Larry Brown, the Larry Brown Allen Iverson formula. What do I mean by that? Well, Allen Iverson obviously was a gifted, tremendous offensive talent. Gifted, tremendous offensive talent. Allen Iverson. Okay. So with that being the case, but he was not a good defender. He was not really a playmaker as much as far as, seeing his teammates, scorer, high level, all time great scorer, gifted offensive player, handled a rock like nobody's business, right? AI had the cross, right? So, AI was that. So what Larry Brown did when he came, and Larry Brown come out of that North Carolina play the right way, Dean Smith system, right? And he is known, to be very hard on his guards. He expects the ball movement. He expects heady play, and he will break on you if you're not making the right play at the guard spot. And so that's why at first he and Allen Iverson did not get along, and then Allen Iverson kind of, calmed down a bit, and Larry Brown kind of calmed down a bit, and they worked together. So what he ended up doing was surrounding AI with defensive players and then running the offense through AI. Okay. So if you look at their starting five from 2001, it was AI, Theo Radcliffe, a defender, high level defender, Eric Snow, George Lynch, Aaron McKee, and they also had Dikembe Mutombo on that team. Okay. And so they were all high level defenders. And the offense ran through AI. So you had AI averaging 30 points a game, and you had like 5 or 6 guys in that 10, 11, 12 point range. Okay. And the other guys, they could get double figures, but they were there to play defense, and AI was there to score. This is what you would have to do with a Tyrell Terry. So if the Knicks had a Tyrell Terry, you got to have 4 defenders. You can't have 3. You can't have another guy that's why, for example, the Derrick Rose Carmelo Anthony experiment failed so badly. One of the reasons that failed is because you had two ball dominant offensive players that don't play defense. And you can't cover for two of them. Okay? You can't. And the Knicks were getting beat on defense. It was a terrible defensive year that year. Okay? So you got to choose one guy to go through. And then you got to have other people focus on the defense. And this is what you got to do if you're going to get Tyrell Terry. He's not quite the train wreck on defense that Trae Young is. I'd say he's better than Trae Young on defense, but that's not saying much because Trae Young's a terrible defender. But he gives, but even at times, another negative for Terry is he ball watches on defense and he falls asleep on defense. I mean, he's only 19, right? So you maybe expect that, but he can't do that in the league. He cannot do that ever at any play. He cannot be ball watching. Okay. He stands around watching the ball and then all of a sudden swings around and he realizes he's got to go get his man. And he's not good enough on defense to do that. Okay. He got to be on his man all the time. So that's the negative. But offensively, you got to run the offense to him. So if the Knicks had him, they would have to run the offense to him and they would definitely need to get rid of Julius Randle and replace Julius Randle with a guy that can play defense. I'm thinking like at this point with that, I mean, we already talked about Jeremy Grant. We already talked about Christian Wood. We would not be getting a Gallinari or a Bertans. We would be getting somebody like a Serge Ibaka, okay, at the 4th spot. So you have Serge Ibaka, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Frank, and then you'd have Tyrell Terry. And you'd run him through screens, you'd run him through back picks, you run him through down screen, and then of course, he let him bring it up and pull from 30 if he felt like it. I think that would be pretty successful. It would be, see, that's why again, in Atlanta, that's what's missing right now. See, cause they got the personnel, but they just don't have the experience yet. Okay. Like for example, they got Cam Reddish, they got DeAndre Hunter. These guys right now are negatives on defense. They got defensive ability, but they were just in their rookie year. And so, they didn't play good defense last year. And so but I think they're going to be good two-way players eventually. That's where development comes in. So let's say that if DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish were good defensive players, like right now, like they were NBA ready defensively, right? And they showed up defensively, every game and they were stoppers, right? Then you got Clint Capella coming in, right? And then you got John Collins, and John Collins is a talented player. He's a 2010 guy and he can shoot pretty well from 3 as well. But, his defense, is lacking. So I would either want to trade him and get a defender in there. What I really would do is I would trade John Collins if I'm Atlanta and draft Onyeka and let Onyeka Okongwu play the 4 and let Clint Capella play the 5. Now, if you have 4 solid defenders around Trae Young, and not only that, Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter will also be offensive threats. And I think Onyeka, to me, I'm very high on him. I think he could play the 4 and he can shoot better than people think he is. Now, you see Atlanta in the playoffs. Okay. But right now, the 2 wings that they drafted are too young. They don't have the experience yet. They're not ready defenders. John Collins is not a good defender. And so that's why they only won 20 games last year. Okay. And that's the difference. So with a guy like Tyrell Terry, you got to surround him. Now the Knicks do have the personnel. We got Frank as elite defender. RJ is already a willing defender and he's going to have I think I'm going to expect big strides on defensive end from him this year. Mitchell's a great defender already. So now if you got a 4 that can defend, now I love my boy Kevin Knox, but in this particular scenario, he's not ready this year to be that guy, the stopper on at the 4th spot. He's just not. I mean, I expect big improvements from him this year on the defensive end, but I would get a pro level experienced defender, like a Jeremy Grant, a Serge Ibaka type defender. Now we got Taj Gibson and he's old, but he could fit for now because he could play the 4 and he's a great defender, right? So with Tyrell Terry, that's what I'm saying. That would work. They got him on the Tankathon going at number 21 to Philadelphia. Man, that would be a really good spot for him because you're going to have Philly already has 4 defenders. Tobias Harris is defender. Embiid is defender. Simmons is a defender. And the kid that they got from Miami is a defender. I forgot his name, but the kid they got from Miami is a defender. They'd be surrounding him with defenders. Then they got Tyrell as well. Matisse Tyrell is also a great defender. So you surround that kid with that, they'd be pretty good, you know? So that's what it is. This kid is tremendous shooter. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. He's the best shooter in the draft. There's no question in my mind. As far as NBA ready, like an NBA team could plug him in and use him in that role right now, he's better than Killian Hayes. He's better than LaMelo Ball. He's better than Tyrese Halliburton. He's already better than all the guards right now, you know, as far as that. Because you could plug him into what I just described, and you'll get dividends right away from this kid. The only question on offense is like this. Two things. Okay, now I brought up the fact that he's not a great ball handler. He's a good ball handler. He sees the floor. He's not elite at it, but he's good. He's very smart. He's going to make the right plays, right? But this is the risk you take with smaller players. Like, you could get a smaller player. There was a guy back in the day from Texas named TJ Ford. Tremendous player. Hurt his spine. Never was the same. Okay. You have recent example. Isaiah Thomas was on the MVP conversation. 30 a game with Boston. Hurt his hip. He has not been the same since. Okay. So that, now, not all of them are like that because again, Trae Young is a workhorse. If you look at Trae Young, he played like 31 minutes a game for the last 2 years. And I think he might have missed 2 games. You guys are workhorse. Okay. And I think that has to do also with his style. He's not Trae Young doesn't depend on athleticism. Neither does Tyrell Terry. And that actually works to their benefit. So I'm hoping a guy like Terry could come in like that and not miss games because he gets hurt easily. The boy weigh 160, right? They said he gained some weight, but I'm not worried about that. I mean, it's not about how heavy you are. It's about how strong you are. There's a difference between being heavy and being strong. You could be strong and not be heavy. Like Scottie Pippen came into the league. He was skinny. And he never really got big, but if you watch his body over the years that him and Jordan played together, he got stronger. You see the muscle definition come out in him, and he was not much bigger as far as weight concerned, but he was stronger. And so that's what I'm saying. The kid needs to get stronger, not necessarily bigger. And so I'm a little concerned with that. It's just a concern. He has shown nothing on the college level to give me concern for it, but because he played all 31 games last year. I'm looking at his stats. He played all 31 games and he averaged 33 minutes a game. So the boy was playing, you know, he was out there playing. And, you know, so yeah, he's given me no reason to concern myself with that, but that is a concern because of his stature, because of how slightly built he is. Also, with some players, and I don't think this is going to be him, but with some players, I mentioned to you before how sometimes because of the expenditure of the energy on the NBA level, you know, 82 games, 48 minutes, and you run it all the time, you know, everybody's high level athletes in the NBA, it will wear on you, and that will cause a guy's shot to be off just simply because of the fatigue factor of having to chase guys on the other end and fight through screens, especially a little guy like this. He's going to be fighting through the screen because, you know, the other team's going to try to exploit him, get him in a mismatch, right? And so that's why you need to have 4 high IQ, high level players around him so that they won't let that happen. And you know, and Thibodeau is good at mastering that. I mean, he did that with Derrick Rose in Chicago. He did exactly the same formula I talked about with Allen Iverson. He did that. He had 4 guys around Derrick Rose that could play defense, and they would not let him get exploited. That was pretty good. They had Dang, they had Bulls, they had of course Joakim Noah. You know, they had guys around him that would not let him get exploited on the defensive end. And I think that's exactly what he'd do with Tyrell Terry. So Tyrell Terry, I love this kid. I do like him. You know, if he came in, RJ would not be the number 1 option. But Tyrell Terry would open the floor. There's no question. Because if you don't pay attention to a guy like that, just think of Trae Young. You can't let Trae Young just run all over the floor with nobody guarding him. And you gotta get the ball out of his hand, otherwise he's gonna kill you. This guy will be the same way. You gotta watch him, and you gotta watch him from deep. Because if he starts to feel it, like, you know, he pulls up from 30 and he feels it and all of a sudden he's on, that opens up the floor for everybody. Opens up the floor for everybody. And you ain't even have to be an elite shooter with somebody like that on your team because you just have to be a decent shooter. So you got to Serge Ibaka at the 4 spot. And RJ, that opens up the floor, man. I mean, that's really opens up the floor for them. And they would really thrive in such an environment. So, I do like Tyrell Terry. And I'm telling you, this draft is amazing because I'm finding the better players to me are, with the exception of Onyeka, who to me should be the number 1 pick in the draft because he's NBA ready now. Talent wise, in terms of body and upside, it's Anthony Edwards. But he's going to need a lot of work. I don't know why so many people, I'm not as high on LaMelo Ball as you probably know, but I'm not as high on him. I don't see a lot of upside with him in terms of jump shot. I don't think he's going to get a jump shot. He's a terrible shooter and absolutely horrible defender. So I don't know about LaMelo Ball. I don't want him on the Knicks. That's just me. If they went and traded and got him, I'm not going to cry about it. I'm not. I can understand why they would do it since so many people are high on him. Me, myself, I'm not. I'd rather have Maxey, to be honest with you. Okay? But anyway, Onyeka should be the number 1 pick. Outside of him, I like Vassell. And to me, after these 2 guys, the best players are after 8. They're after 8. The best players in this draft. You're talking about Tyrell Terry. You're talking about Maxey. You're talking about Sadiq Bey. You're talking about Jalen Smith, Patrick Williams. These guys are all like, to me, all of these guys are better than the guys they're looking at the top of the draft. But hey, that's just me. I'm just saying, I think that's where your future star out of this draft is going to be in that range from like 8 down. Because that's where your best players, maybe even in the second round, you're talking about, and then you're talking about a Desmond Bain, and you're talking about, the kid from Duke, I forgot, the athletic boy from Duke. There's so many. I mean, there's just a lot of players out here, that are really good. And then Wiseman's good. Wiseman's good. I'm not going to front. Wiseman's good, but I like Onyeka better at the center spot and at the 4th spot. He's more versatile. Isaac Okoro. Paul Reed. You got some guys out here. And then Jamias Ramsey. And then, of course, there's your boy Neesmith. There's Trey Jones, Tyrell Terry. There's a lot of guys out here that could pop in the second half of the draft. That could actually pop, So, I like Tyrell Terry. I do like him. I wouldn't take him at 8. I would still take Vassell at 8. But I would definitely, if I'm the Knicks, I'm trying to buy, trade, something to get a pick between, say, 14 and 20. And then you have to make a decision because you got Maxey and you got Tyrell. I don't know, which one I would take. I guess, you know what? I do know. I would take Maxey. Me personally. I like the way his game is. I like how physical he is. I like him on the defensive end. I like how he would fit with our team. I would take Maxey, but I ain't going to front. They're going Tyrell Terry. You have to run the offense to him. But that boy can shoot the lights out. And, he would be, to me, you know what he would be like? He would be like this year, like Hero. Tyler Hero. Like with Miami, you know how that boy came on and he was a shooter. Okay, and was killing it from the jump shot. Like Terry would do that. Okay, he would really do that. I know they list him as a point guard. Again, he's one of these guys he can set up an offense. He can. He's got the IQ, no question. But he's a scorer, man. This boy's a bucket getter. That's what he is. He's a bucket getter. And man, I stress defense, as you know, and I want the Knicks to start off with that foundation of the house built with defense. But you need some bucket getters too. Okay, you do. And Tyrell Terry can fill that mess up. I ain't gonna front. That boy can shoot it now. Okay? He's the best shooter in the draft. And that's saying something because Malachi Flynn, I told you, Malachi Flynn's the deal also. As far as the shooter, that boy's the deal. I'm not as high on Aaron Neesmith as some of y'all are. And the reason I'm not, I haven't done a video on him, but the reason I'm not, he shot the ball really well for 14 games. And if you look at his stats, he averaged 23 in them 14 games. He averaged 23 points, 5 rebounds, 0.9 assists. He didn't get his teammates involved a whole lot. So you're taking a risk. I'm not saying the boy ain't going to be a star, but if I'm looking for shooters now, I got 3 or 4 I would take before him. I would take Bane before him. I would take Terry before him. I would take Malachi Flynn before him. These guys are pro level shooters over at least a 30-game season. Okay, because they've shown it. All right, so yeah, it's gonna be a hard choice. The Knicks got good problems. We got 3 picks, this year, 2 in the first round. But I would really like to see them move up. Cassius Stanley is the kid I was talking about before. I would really like to see them move up into that 14 to 20 range. Because they can get one of these guys like that. Plus get Vassell. That's what I'm saying. We could get Vassell plus one of these guys. Okay? And that would be a home run, man. Moving up in the draft ain't worth it. It's not worth moving up in this draft. And they talking about moving up, and some of you, let me not use the word idiot. That's not nice. Some of you people, some of you brothers, some of you Knicks Nation, think we should trade Mitchell Robinson to move up to get LaMelo Ball. No. The best players in this draft are under 8. With the exception of Onyeka and Wiseman. Now, I wouldn't even take Wiseman because we got Mitch. I would not mind Onyeka. He would be my 4. I'm sorry, Kevin Knox, but Onyeka Okongwu, slide him in at the 4 spot right now. Right now. I'm trying to tell you. Okay? If I wasn't going to get a Serge Ibaka in here, or Grant, or Wood, Onyeka, come on over, my man. Come on. He's starting at the 4. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Tell me what you guys thinking. Have a good weekend. Shalom.